Get your films on with the Blurs.
Once an idea has taken hold of the brain, it's almost impossible to eradicate.
Unpacking movies has never been more spot on, woke, fire, and just plain lit.
They are lit all the time.
So if you're unsure whether or not to plop down some cash for a film, check out the Blurs.
When a man with a 45 meets a man with a rifle, the man with a pistol is a dead man.
Brondo's got what plants crave.
It's got electrolyte.
You really only need to hang mean bastards. But mean bastards, you need to hang.
Don't say you weren't warned. Here's Brandon and Jeff.
Hello, welcome to episode 160 of the Film Blurs. I'm Brandon Norwood.
And I am Jeff Stewart.
And here we are joined today by Bryant Griffin. Bryant, introduce yourself, man.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Bryant Griffin. I'm a writer-director. I have a film that's been on the film festival circuit for a little while now called Young King. And Young King is about an African-American veteran from the Second Iraq War that struggles with PTSD and tries to get help before, his situation and condition worsens. But aside from that, I also former still visual effects artist. I used to work at Lucasfilm. I worked at Industrial Light Magic for about 12 years. And I've been freelancing a lot lately with a lot of local companies. But we were just saying I'm a comic book nerd. Not on top of everything the way I used to be, but comic book nerd. I'm into films. I'm a genre geek. And that's why I'm hoping like my next project, just to see us as protagonists in the genres, sci-fi specifically, but thriller, horror, huge fan. Grew up in the 80s, so 80s baby, so I'm sure we'll connect on many levels. So
Yeah, yes, sir.
All right, and what movie did you bring to us today?
Well, the movie that I brought to you it's one that I actually talked about when I got into film school. It's Night of the Living Dead, the original 1968 by George Romero. Now, given where we are politically right now, it's like everything yesterday seemed so frivolous compared to like what's going on now. But Night of the Living Dead is just one of my favorite films for a lot of reasons. And the main reason is that it speaks to my artistic statement. It's, again, taking a person of color, making them a protagonist, and then all the different layers of subtext that comes with that. Like right now, there's this huge movement against diversity, equity, and inclusivity. And my thing is, cinema predominantly has been a Eurocentric art form, especially in the West. Like everywhere else, they have their own histories that they study. But here in the West, the general story, the way I kind of break it down is like, if you set up a scenario, a police officer pulls over a driver. The police officer is a cisgender white male and the driver is a cisgender white male. How many variations of that story can you tell? If you change one of those elements, you change the driver to an African-American male, that brings a whole different level and a whole different variety of story you can tell. And so the more we change those variables, the different variations of stories we'll have, So again, let's broaden everything, and that's what Night of the Living Dead does. It's like George Romero says he didn't think about race, right? That's what he says,
Sure.
If we take him at his word. But he says he didn't talk about race, but then when the film goes overseas, the French and all them, they see all these different socio-political issues. And then the ending of the film is just powerful, like especially the time that it came out. And you juxtapose with what was actually going on with the civil rights movement. It's like that movie is just, it's just incredible. That's a long answer to the question, and we can get into specifics.
Yeah. I say this on the show all the time. The best horror has social and political undertones, right? Like it always has been like that. And yes, all right, George Romero says he didn't mean it to be political, yada, yada, yada. Okay, cool. But if you put a black person in any situation, it automatically becomes political, exactly. Right? Like we are always the flame, right? Or like the trigger for whatever. So he knew what he was doing by putting a black person in there, right? He would, like you said, he's changing the variable, right? He's making it more tense. He's making it more interesting, because that movie is not the same if Ben, right?
Ben.
Ben is
Dwayne Jones,
right, is a white dude, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. And man, the thing that I guess, again, George Romero has become one of my favorite filmmakers, not just because of what he's created artistically, but also because of his business decisions and sometimes missteps. And so for me, George Romero is a case study. Someone who comes in the industry, strikes it hot, but then a couple missteps, but then strikes it hot again, and then a few more missteps. And, as you can see, he kind of struggled towards the end of his career. But like you said, I think it's just that when the thing that I do like is that he says Dwayne Jones was the best person for the job. And I think right now with the anti-DEI movement, and I don't want to date this podcast because hopefully in a couple years we won't be as negative on this. But what this anti-DEI thing is doing is setting the default of competency to the white man. And that any of us that's in a position, we're going to get looked at funny right now. We're going to get looked at as we don't belong, or we didn't earn it, or we didn't work twice as hard, or we're not twice as good. And so that's what it's doing by default, is conditioning the population to think that way. As much as we try to block it out, next time you get on a plane, if you see a black pilot, you might start sweating a little bit because of what's going on in the media. But again, what I love that George Romero always said is that Dwayne Jones was the best actor for the role.
I like to think this is like Get Out before Get Out, because you have a black man and a white woman. Even though Get Out was more about an interracial relationship, this is more about a partnership between two people who are fighting to survive. And you say definitely during the civil rights era. I also think it was in the era where women also couldn't vote. Like she also looks at him like, you're just as fucked up as I am and how we are in this country. So seeing that, I think, also put the pressure on things, especially, as you say, towards the end of the movie where the climax happens, because then they just view her as a traitor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it really gets crazy when the other people start coming to the house too.
Exactly. And one of the things, like, just to back up a little bit, like, the way I came to this film, again, I'm kind of like a kid of the 80s. And I saw this film like in the late 80s. And so it was on VHS. And just to set context a little bit, is that when I watch black and white films, I generally think pre-civil rights. Color films, post-civil rights, right? So that's generally like the way my child's brain kind of divided things up.
right.
And even as a little kid in this country, and I think this is something we should look at, as a little kid, as a black boy growing up in Brooklyn at the time, I knew the story of Emmett Till. And also I was aware of the trope that the black person dies in the first few minutes. And so I put on this film, Night of the Living Dead. It's a black guy, right? We open up on the white girl and her brother. And then the white girl makes it to the house, and then all of a sudden this black guy comes in. And I'm like, he's dead. He's dead instantly. And then she goes catatonic and he punches her. And like I said, in the back of my mind, I know the story of Emmett Till. I'm like, he's definitely dead now. Then the story goes on, and then there are other white people. I'm waiting for the N-word to pop up. It never pops up. And then there's another white guy that challenges him, and he doesn't back down. Now, this is post-Sidney Poitier in The Heat of the Night, but again, in a black and white, in The Heat of the Night is color. This is a black and white film. I'm expecting Ben to, defer to the white guy. And he does it. He says, I'm boss up here. If you want to go down to the basement, you go down to the basement. And the N-word never comes up. they never attack him in that way. And then, spoiler alert for like a 50-year-old movie, Ben actually survives up until the end. And the whole time I'm an 11-year-old kid, this is blowing my mind because I had never seen it before. Like, we've seen it in blaxploitation films or other films where we can be the leads of stories, but never where a Black guy is surrounded by like a white cast. And so it just blew my mind. And then to have him survive, and then this mob, with dogs, basically do what they do to him. I'm trying not to sweat, but they do what they do to him. And then to have the credit scene where you have the bodies thrown in piles and burned, it was just powerful imagery. And the funny thing is that sometimes I would talk to white adults about this. They didn't see the race thing at all.
Of course
they
not.
don't see it at all.
Of course not.
But that's the beauty, and that's why, I feel like, again, as we tell our stories, let's just make our lead characters who we make them, and let people take away from the stories what they take away from it. I feel like we don't have to overtly state a lot of things. Of course, I believe like Spike Lee is, he is who he is. He's, I think, one of the greatest American filmmakers, the greatest filmmakers of all time. And when you look at what he did with Do the Right Thing, again, there is definitely a time and place to be overt and let's say exactly what we're talking about. But I also think there's a place for us we don't even have to say it. It's there. Right. It's there. Yeah.
All right. Going back to Romero and everything that you said, he had to know what he was doing. Even as a Black person, watching this Black man surrounded by all of these white people, that automatically is like, oh shit, right? He better watch his fucking step, right? Because they are going to, they're going to throw him out. And if you look at all of Romero's other work, right? Like Dawn of the Dead, right? About consumerism, right? You mean to tell me that you didn't mean for that to have a political bent, right? So I kind of get what he's saying, because you don't want to be pigeonholed as you don't want to be the horror version of Spike Lee, right?
Right.
But he had to know what was going on.
I mean, he had to, because Day of the Dead, or not Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, the Black guy and the white chick fly off in the helicopter at the end.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what they again, like, what he says is that what he didn't do, he didn't change the script to put in the race stuff, to put in the N words, which you could see that as being a tempting thing for people to do, but it is, he had to be aware. He really had to be aware. But he also said that one of the things Dwayne Jones had done is that the truck driver originally was a little bit more abrasive, and Dwayne Jones changed some of the dialogue so that he wasn't as abrasive and came off like as someone that had, a higher educational level and stuff like that, which again, I think was a credit to what Dwayne Jones had done. But yeah, I think, again, because obviously right now it's like, okay, do you take white heroes and make them Black? That's not something that I'm a fan of generally, I do, obviously, there is a Black Captain America in the comics, and so there's the precedent set. There's Black Superman as well, and sometimes it's educating the mass public that stuff exists, that, the Sam Wilson character is not trying to pretend to be Steve Rogers. They put that in the trailer, for crying out loud.
Right.
So again, we're not trying to race swap, but I do think as we, and like you said, that's why I love genre, because I do think genre should be, political, socio-political. Like, my favorite show is The Twilight Zone, and I do feel again, it's what genre can do is that we can win in the audience with a high concept idea, so that even those who are not inclined to watch our stories will be intrigued by the premise. And then we bring them in with the premise, and then we layer in, we carpet bomb with the other stuff. And again, that's what I hope to do with my visual effects background. It's like create a trailer so cool with robots and spaceships or whatever that even someone in, some rural place that doesn't want to watch a Black story wants to watch the sci-fi components, and then they get the other stuff with it.
Right. And, and that's sort of a testament to the power of Black Panther, right?
Yeah,
that story, outside of the Marvel universe, it wasn't getting made, right?
Mhm.
That's like the textures of African culture were not going to be put on a screen with this sort of budget if it
At that
wasn't
budget, exactly.
right. If it was not attached to a mega $billion superhero franchise.
I
right?
mean, that's why I love Jordan Peele, to your point, because homie, like Get Out, even Us, which I'm not too crazy about, does explore the divide between race and class and how who has what in what class status that you're in. And even Nope, in relation to how Black people operate in the Hollywood system. You know what I mean? And especially the way the two siblings are treated versus how Jupe is riding high and just exploiting this awful thing that happened to him, and nobody questions it. But then, because they fucking around with the horse, they're just like, oh, well, these two Black people, let's get them out here, bring in the CG horse.
Yeah, oh, go ahead, Jeff.
No, like it's we've always had to do the bait and switch, right? It's the genre for us is the cinematic equivalent of code switching.
Yeah,
right.
You're right. Wow, that's deep. Yeah, that's deep. Yeah.
So we got to make it accessible. You can't scare you.
You say I'm dancing over here?
I was like, hey, how you doing?
You're right. You're 100% right. And like you said about Black Panther too, it's like I had like tears, in my eyes watching the first screening, because I actually watched the first screening before just probably like the night before I was shooting a sci-fi film of my own at UCLA, and I kind of paid for my cast and crew to watch it, and I had tears in my eyes because my thing is, as I was saying to Jeff, and I told you before, Bryant, is that we were blurs before being a Black nerd was cool. And, you get made fun of and ostracized for liking these genres where it's only white protagonists.
Mm-hmm.
But like for me, growing up in Brooklyn, and Brooklyn was a different place at that time, it was a place of escape. It's like you escape to these fantasy worlds, and it's like, why can't a Black little boy and girl dream about being in these fantasy places, or these fantastical spaces, and being the heroes of our own stories? And then to sit down and watch Black Panther, something executed at this level, like building these worlds, like you said, I think it may be like the first time, there's like this clear African influence of creating a world on this budget level, and it was just like amazing. It's sort of like when you find out about other cinema outside of the US and find that there's another way to tell a narrative, like a narrative doesn't have to be like a 3-act structure. It's like, what? It kind of blows your mind. And I think Black Panther is a doorway to that. And hopefully it's a doorway that's not shut, It's funny because, again, like growing up, when I went to grad school, I hung out with a lot of younger kids, and they were like, what happened in the 90s? You had all these shows like In Living Color, Martin, where we're everywhere and we're killing it. And then all of a sudden, it's like the spigot was turned off. And what I'm telling people, exactly what's happening now is what happened then, except it was more covert back then. So you'd have like, Rupert Murdoch come in and start to cancel these shows, even though the shows are doing well. But anyway, like I said, hopefully the door is not closing, and we may have to be just a little bit more creative in finding ways to tell our stories,
I mean, I think it's sad that, like, I love Christopher Nolan, but I do think it's sad. Christopher Nolan made the first Black Bond movie, man. You know what I mean?
Right.
With Tenet.
Yeah.
But hey, it's like at least people it's like let's take the wins quick. We can get them, but I totally agree. I think we're going into a tough spot. I've done a couple of documentaries, and I've been fortunate enough to talk with some of the LA Rebellion filmmakers out here in LA, like Charles Burnett and Julie Dash and those individuals. And back then, they just didn't have the opportunities. At least right now, there's a little bit more infrastructure for us, and there's a little bit more opportunity for distribution amongst ourselves, that didn't exist at that time. And so hopefully, again, that will help us to kind of weather the storm, so to speak, But and then actually, I spoke to one of the filmmakers about Black Panther, a filmmaker by the name of Ben Caldwell, who's an older Black gentleman who's a part of the LA Rebellion filmmaker group. And he said for Black Panther, this might be like a hot take, but he said it was like an appropriation of African-American culture, taken over by Disney. But at the same time, it's like, okay, for me, the most powerful part of Black Panther was the very end when they bring the ship to Oakland and little kids see the technology. If that inspires a young kid the way Uhura inspired, young African Americans to explore the sciences, to me, it's worth it. Like that's what we need to tap into and unlock. It's like we can't be locked out of this technological, revolution that's going on. We got to teach our kids to code. That's where it's really at.
Right. And another hot take. I think Black Panther, story-wise, right, is okay. Right?
Nah.
But look.
Nah.
Look, I said it's a hot take. We've had this conversation before, but it is an important film, right? And like you said, take the win, right? The fact that, we came out in droves, right? Black people selling out movie theaters, seeing ourselves on film. I will always champion Black Panther for the fact that for that moment, we were all doing the Wakanda Forever salute, man. Like we were,
I mean, to more your point, Jeff, and to Bryant, what you were saying, taking the wins where we could get them, yes, but also being critical and holding us to better standards. Because, me and Jeff particularly is under fire right now about saying, like, Captain America had problems. And we all do, like, we both think Captain America had problems, despite it being entertaining. But
right.
We can't, just because we're Black, doesn't mean we have to love it because we have a Black protagonist. Because then that means we have to love every Tyler Perry and Lee Daniels project. And that's just not how it works, bro.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I want to chime in here too, because I feel like, and this I think it might be a take as well. And this is going out to the political realm. One thing I will say about the right in this country is that they know how to stay on message. And like the dude in the White House said, is that he could go out there and shoot somebody and they won't do anything to him. They don't give. And I'm wondering, do we get to the point where it's like, we know that something might not be right, but we need to support it like 100% and have because I agree with you, in normal circumstances, like, yes, let's critique. But when we know that there's a force out there that is not going to engage in honest debate, when do we stop giving ground? Like now, that's just a question, because I 100% agree that we should be able to critique these things. But then at the same time, we know in the back of our mind, somebody on some other channel is going to latch on to something that one of us may have said and run with it. Right. Like what do we do in that case? And this is like an honest question.
See,
And-
we're
and, like,
very, me and Jeff, we're very careful in how we critique some things too. Like, we
Yeah.
do
Like,
tiptoe around stuff.
and like I did not say I didn't like the new
Right.
Black Panther,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, none of us said we hated it. We actually both said we enjoyed it, but it's a mess.
Right. But if we don't hold ourselves to higher standards, how do we get better?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Tubi is filled with these blockbuster, and yes, and yes, God bless you, great, you made a film, right? But if you're not getting better, right? If you're not, if we're setting the bar so low for ourselves across the board that anyone who does anything, right? A person of color, a black person who does anything, we're like, oh yeah, that's awesome, right? Like, you did it.
Yo, because I mean, by
Yeah,
that standards, Belly's a masterpiece, bro. Yeah,
Right.
like,
Right?
Belly has one of the best openings of all time, and then the rest of that movie's fucking trash. Especially, like I keep bringing up, there's a 20-minute scene of them in a chicken restaurant saying, "Yo, we going back to Africa." Word? Go back to Africa? And I'm like, the fuck is like,
Right. And like I always like put it like this. Your doctor, right? Like, if he's doing a surgery on you, right? He's a black doctor and he fucks up, you're not going to be like, oh, well, he's a doctor. He's a black doctor.
That's true.
Right?
That's true.
Like,
And that's the other thing too. If you don't honestly critique, you hurt your credibility.
Yeah.
And that's what's important. It's like you can't just, like you said, blanketly and blindly go out there and love everything. Now, I'm supposed to see Captain America tomorrow, so I'm trying to stay away from spoilers, even though I've seen everything. So, but the thing is, I really liked Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like, I really liked a lot of that series, and it seems like, to me, that originally wasn't it supposed to be a feature? Like, do you guys think that because they had to spread it out over the TV show and this movie, that it might have diluted like what the project could have been?
yeah, because there's some exposition delivered by a few people about what happened in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and it's just like, damn, y'all, like, find better ways to deliver this information. Like, some people are going to go, like I said in our review, some people are going to go straight from Endgame to this because they don't want to watch Falcon and Winter Soldier, nor should they have to, because if you just want to watch the movies, then you should keep keeping on without being lost. And the way they explain how, like, his vibranium suit and how he got it from the Wakandans, I'm like, damn, y'all, like
just be better. We're asking you to be better. Do better.
Yeah, I get it.
It's
I
like
get
the
it.
problem is, I think it's Disney's problem right now is like it. And it's a big problem with the movie, I feel like, and a problem with all their products. When you're playing to everybody, then you're playing to nobody. And especially this movie in this time where it refuses to take a stance on anything, and it presents a lot of complicated things that it just isn't interested in answering. And I'm just like, you can't do that. And you got to answer some stuff. Have the characters stand on business and get down to what they mean.
But that's because they're afraid that if they made it too black,
or if they make
too
it too political,
like it's going to affect their pockets. And that's the thing that all of us have to realize is the only way change is going to happen is if we fuck up someone's money.
Yeah,
that's true.
100%. 100%. And the thing is like when the art is, created by us, and I put that in quotations because the guy who directed it, and I'm sure he had to deal with a system.
Oh, Julius.
He had to deal with a system. So it's like, again, like, do you mess up the money on a project that, that we're at the creative forefront of? Again, that's the huge debate,
Well, look at Nia DaCosta, first black filmmaker to do a big budget motion picture, because Ava DuVernay was with A Wrinkle in Time, and now she beat her because the Marvels cost $200 million, And her experience on it was so bad that during the press tour, she kept saying, well, it's a Kevin Feige movie. She's like, yeah, it is what it is. It's a Kevin Feige movie. And it's just like, you understand exactly what she means, and you watch it and you're like, I see what she means by she says it's a Kevin Feige movie, because it's like Captain America. I'm like, the shit's right here. Y'all just don't give us the latitude to do anything with it. And then because you got something to say, it becomes a mess.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
As a filmmaker, if someone comes up to you with Marvel money, it's like you get to make a Marvel film. I don't know anyone who would say no. I really don't.
Yeah.
But now you have the weight of your shoulder, like the weight of the world on your shoulders, right? You can't mess up, right? But they're not allowing you to not mess up, right? They're putting traps and obstacles in front of you every step of the way.
No, you're right. You're right. Because I might as well just come out and say this. I took a meeting, and I ain't gonna say for what, but I took a meeting, and it's very clear. A lot of this stuff they just want done on a sound stage in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Wow. So do you take it? That's a film in and of itself. It's like, do you go ahead and take it knowing what you're up against? It's like,
well, it's been me and a revolving door of people on this project, and I keep seeing who keeps coming on and keeps coming off, and I'm just like, well, I understand why people are leaving this project, because outside of this star who's attached to it and the property itself and what you can do with it, there's no appeal to what they're presenting you with. And it's just like, guys, are we here to make a movie, or are you just here to make some bullshit just to make some money off of it? But then you're diluting this character who honestly kicked this whole shit off. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right. I got you. I got you.
But you can guess. You can guess.
But that's the whole thing. It's like, again, do you take the deal, or do you say, okay, I'm just going to bet on myself? It's like one of those things, like, it's one of those choices. It's like, okay, do you bet on yourself and say, okay, it may take me like another 5 years of grinding, but I believe that I'll get to this point again and the circumstances will be correct, as opposed to me taking the money and kind of like not being able to do what I kind of see what this thing could be.
It really, I think it depends on your filmography beforehand. Because, like, if you look at Nia DaCosta, she had Little Woods, Candyman, then The Marvels, and now she gets to rebound with the 28-year sequel. So I'm like, oh, well, at least she gets another chance. Julius, outside of Loose, which is a fantastic movie, he got an unknown.
Yeah, that Cloverfield.
Yeah, right. That Cloverfield movie, which was cobbled together in post, and then the movie before that, which is impossible to see because you can't find it nowhere. And I'm just like, dude, man, I think it might be a wrap. You know what I mean?
And like, I see both sides. I can't blame anyone who takes the money and does it just because I can imagine the mindset like, I'm going to be different, right? This is an opportunity. I've worked so hard to get here. Right? Like,
I mean, because part of that confidence is what got him to that spot. But at the same time, the money that we're talking about is probably not a lot, because again, if you're looking, like, usually these directors that get into the Marvel films, the first films, they're not making a lot of money for that first film. And then you distribute that over 2 to 3 years, or however long it takes, it might not, but again, it elevates his profile. Now, the thing I will say is that it seems like so far it's doing okay. I think this weekend will be like the real tell, like whether or not it has any legs.
Yeah, they're saying 30 million, which is not good.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Look, he made a Marvel movie. It's also
America too.
It's a meat grinder. That's the problem, though. This shit is now just a meat grinder. Like, if you notice, the last big director of name they got is Nia DaCosta, and then Coogler will come back for 3. But if you look at who they're getting to direct these, it's like, well, I mean, I think that's for a reason, because you could just find some dude who's made a movie or two and then just throw him in the chair and be like, yeah, all right, it's a warm body. Because think about it, we got one of our best artists, Chloe Zhao, to make Eternals. And there's a lot of great Chloe Zhao shit in Eternals, but that also got trampled under the Marvel wheel,
Yeah, and honestly, it's a personal question. As a working creative professional, do you want to make money or do you want to make art? right?
You could do both.
That's a good
Because
question.
of
That's the dream.
here's my
That's the
thing.
dream,
Like my
but-
two favorite directors do both. Like Denis Villeneuve and Nolan, they do both. Scorsese for a long time has been doing both. You know, it's possible.
Yeah.
It's just
right, but
not in this
for-
ecosystem.
for people like us, though,
Right.
you know,
Coogler,
it's-
Coogler, and
Right.
Peele. That's it. That's all we
Yeah,
got.
they-
Coogler and
they're,
Peele.
but they're the exceptions, not the rule, right?
Yeah,
Right. But that's what I'm hoping we can kind of start to get into as a lot of the technology is democratized, obviously right now with AI, and we're not even getting into that.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's like hopefully again, like we can venture into these spaces where again we can tell it is really a shame that we have Coogler and Peele, and you really have to struggle to think of the next one that has really done something genre-wise, it's really unfortunate.
let's see how this 28 sequel shakes out. Because if it's amazing, I
Yeah.
think Nia is gonna get more chances.
I heard they spent a lot on it. I heard like 60 million or something like that. How do you do that in this climate?
But that's just because I've heard those scripts are amazing. Like all 3 scripts.
Really?
Yeah. And Danny
Oh,
Boyle straight up
okay.
said the only
Okay.
reason I didn't do 2 is because they're shooting these back to back. So he's doing the first one and the third one. And they're like they like Nia DaCosta a lot, and that's why she got to do the second one.
Okay, I like that thing because I do love what's his name that wrote the script, Alex Garland.
yeah.
I really love his work and so okay, all right. Like I said, I heard the budget like 60 million. Was that for like both 1 and 2 together?
I think they're just
or is that for
separate.
all 3?
I think they're separate. Yeah, I mean, Nope cost 65, man. I mean, that wasn't a cheap movie either. And they shot that
yeah.
bitch on IMAX. I mean, it was worth
But-
it.
But genre, right?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
genre hits,
Yeah,
it's a money printing machine.
yeah.
Perfect example, like that Terrifier film, right?
Yeah,
Dog shit,
yeah.
All of them.
right?
All of them. All of them.
But
But
you
a
know,
lot, did it get 100 million? Was the last one got like 100 million?
It made a
Terrifier
lot.
3?
I can't.
yeah,
To Google. I'll check on Google while y'all talk.
But yeah, I mean, my only thing is like right now we've seen the market kind of soften a little bit, and so even Blumhouse, for example, not speaking on the quality of the films, but Blumhouse films have been struggling to kind of hit that 30 million, and so my concern is like a $60 million infected zombie film. And that's kind of tough.
The first one did make money hand over fist. I remember when that dropped that summer.
Yeah.
I wasn't old enough at the time. I was like right around that time where I was just about to get my license, so I still couldn't see an R-rated movie. We snuck in. That motherfucker was sold out, and like it was sold out for weeks. Because I remember that was like a month after it came out.
It was incredible because again, me as a zombie fan, bringing this full circle back to George Romero,
Yeah.
like zombie fan, I remember seeing the poster for 28 Days Later and then finding out it's a zombie movie. At that time, there hadn't been a zombie film in a long time, and so again, I have no doubt that the film is going to be something I'm going to have on my shelf. But I'm just concerned that their budget is so high that, getting the money back for that person. Well, like you said, if it hits, it hits. If it's dropped at the right time. And then you just have like The Walking Dead with 5 series. And it's like, are people going to come to a zombie film
I don't
when
know,
they feel
man.
like they can watch it on TV?
That trailer
And if-
really did make an impact, though. Like if you see
Yeah,
people
okay.
talking
Yeah,
about
it's
it,
great,
it's
great.
just like people are talking about it. It is
But-
part of a
and-
beloved franchise.
Yeah,
but
that's
also
true.
like I think that's also filmmaking is a gamble, right? Making a movie, creating art is a gamble, and for the longest time, these companies, these studios have been hedging their bets, right? Going the simplest route. So yes, I do hope this is very widely successful for everybody involved, but also if it does not hit the marks, at least they tried.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least they tried.
Yeah, man.
And that gives me hope for the future that people are still willing to try to invest in art and do stuff, like spend the money to do things differently.
Yeah.
And it is a dream to have like Danny Boyle come back to the 28 Days franchise, and also Alex Garland coming back to it as well. Like sometimes you get like these like dream scenarios that don't necessarily pan out. So I agree too, because I'd rather have a swing and a miss at art and like at least have that piece, it's like, hey, at least they tried and it exists.
That's why I'm like the only motherfucker who likes Godfather 3, bro, because I'm like, they made some choices in that, and does all the choices work? Nah, but that movie still, that's an amazing movie. Still better than a lot of the dog shit we get today. I'm like, nah, bro, Godfather 3 is up there, baby.
True.
I would rather, a lot of people love 2. I would rather on any given day watch 3. Also, 3 is much shorter.
That's a hot take.
Than 2.
Look.
Listen.
That's a hot take.
Prequel of 2, I love. I love the prequel shit. It's just all the sequel shit is like, all right, yeah, we get it. Michael's been corrupted. Yeah, watching him. All right.
That's a T-shirt, man. I'd rather on any given day I take 3 over 2.
Come on, bro. They even repeat like the same beats at the end of 2 from the first one. It's just like, damn, he's doing the same shit again. All right.
I like fail big, baby. Like I like if you're gonna fail, like I'd rather have an interesting failure than a boring success.
Yeah, Dark Knight Rises, baby.
True. That's true.
I'll take that. I'll take that movie
watch it.
any day, any fucking day.
There's some great stuff in that one.
Yo, Bane's my favorite, but baby, like Bane's gangster.
Like we were literally talking about that this morning. Bane is hip hop.
Yeah.
Right? Bane, like he's just dropping bars, right? Like he's the Kendrick Lamar of comic book villains.
That's crazy. I never thought of it that way, but you might be right. That's great. But there's some great stuff, especially visually in that one, man. There's some cool stuff. And it rounds out the trilogy nicely, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does. But Bryant, thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Sorry we didn't talk about the movie that much.
No, we talked about it before. Again, I can geek out with you guys over anything. I wish I was doing a little bit more in visual effects. If I work on a big visual effects project, you guys want some BTS, just let me know.
Well, you know what? We'll come back and you could talk about another movie, bro.
Dude, you can come on any time you want. This has been great. All right. Do you want to plug something? Let's give us another plug before we.
Again, I guess like my film Instagram, Young King the Film, Instagram, or you can find me on Smiles, SMILEZ 94. That tells you when I created that. with Z in it, Smiles. But I love your work, guys, man.
Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you, man.
All right, we'll catch y'all later.
We're the Film Blurs. I'm Brandon Norwood, and I'm the motherfucking protagonist.
I'm the protagonist.
I'm Jeff Stewart, a.k.a. He Who Remains.
Don't come at us. It's just fucking movies. You've been listening to the Film Blurs podcast.
Man, I just love what you guys do, man.
I never miss an episode. It's the best. It's my favorite podcast.
Follow Jeff on IG on MindFireXL and Brandon on Twitter at BJN Tweets.